what happened, the leader said, as we were sharing why his change initiative was failing. Everyone had bought in. His conclusion, his employees were resistant to change. But that's not what he was experiencing. His employees weren't resistant to change. He had made a fundamental mistake when it comes to leading change. Mistaking that agreement, that buy-in for change with the commitment needed for action. Stay tuned. In this video, I'm going to share with you what you need to do to go beyond that buy-in to ensure your organizational change efforts are successful and you get those behaviors to stick. Welcome back to the channel. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Dawn-Marie Turner, President of Turner Change Management and creator of the Readiness Mindset. How do we get buy-in? That's probably the most common question that I'm asked, or some variation of that question, whether it's clients, course participants, or even people who just find out what I do for a living. That's because just like the leader I mentioned previously, most people believe that buy-in is critical to achieve that intended outcome. Buy-in is important. It's that agreement to support an idea for change. It's the recognition that something needs to be different. And it's a necessary first step in all of our change journeys. To begin the change process, any of us, we must believe that change is necessary and accept the idea of thinking and behaving differently. The problem is, it's not enough. Achieving real change, change that sticks, requires commitment. I've done a previous video describing the difference between buy-in and commitment, and another one on what to do to gain that buy-in, that initial agreement that you need in order to go on to develop the commitment. I'll post both of those videos in the show notes below. In this video, I want to focus on understanding what is commitment to change, why it's needed, and what you can do to build the commitment and achieve the desired outcome in your organization. Commitment to change is stronger than that agreement or acceptance of the idea of change. Because when you are committed to change, you have made a decision to act, to engage in those activities, the behaviors, to shift your thinking and align it with the new desired outcome. The definition that I like for commitment is a mindset that binds an individual to a course of action deemed necessary for the successful implementation of a change initiative. For example, one client who was successfully transforming their organization, when asked what was a key ingredient of their success, shared, "We were committed." And that meant that all the activities toward that transformation were prioritized. And when other daily operations prevented them from engaging in the transformational activities, or they were really uncomfortable, they were explored. And what was needed to keep that transformation on track was given the priority. Whenever anything came up, those urgent operational activities, they were reprioritized, and space was cleared to keep the transformational work moving forward. They backfilled positions. They made time and space for key people to have the opportunity for new learning and removed barriers that were in the way of that transformation. That was the commitment that the leaders made when their employees initially accepted and bought into the idea of change. And as a result, their employees committed and they were successful in transforming their organization. Think about a change that you were committed to, whether it was in your organization or maybe in your life, versus one that you kind of like the idea and I'd like to be able to do that. And write in the comment section below, what was the difference commitment made for you? What did you notice about your willingness to engage in those new activities, to persevere when you were committed versus when you just liked the idea or bought into the idea of change? Commitment is not a one-size-fits-all when it comes to change. I'd like to explore 3 types of commitment that will influence your organizational change efforts: effective, normative, and continuous. Effective commitment reflects the belief that the change will benefit them and the organization. Normative commitment reflects your sense of obligation to the organization or your community or your group. Continuous commitment reflects your belief that the costs of not supporting a change within the organization are too high. There's lots of debate, discussion, and ongoing research about the different types of commitment and how they affect readiness. But 2 things are helpful to keep in mind when you're looking to build commitment for your changes in your organization. First, that each type has a different impact on yours and other people's response to change and what happens in your organization. Second, they are not mutually exclusive. We can experience all 3 types of commitment simultaneously when leading change. For example, one study found that affective commitment, the belief that change will benefit the organization, increased a person's ability to cope with change and was the most powerful predictor of readiness. Another study of registered nurses found that nurses with high levels of effective and normative commitment moved beyond just simple compliance and really engaged in the behaviors that were necessary to achieve the sustainable adoption of the intended outcome. On the other hand, continuous or compliance commitment, the kind of commitment you get when people fear change or believe that the cost of non-compliance is too high. For example, if you fear you will lose your job or your standing if you don't go along with the change, is counterproductive to real change. This type of commitment leads to decreased coping behaviors, increased stress and anxiety, and increased turnover. If commitment is necessary for sustainable change, let's talk about 3 things that you can do to help build and support the commitment that's necessary. First, demonstrate strong and committed leadership until adoption has been achieved. The commitment of your team, your employees, your group starts and ends with leadership, with you as the leader. It's easy once you've launched a change initiative, maybe even given the direction and planning to a change management or project team or to another group of employees, to believe that your role is done. It's not. As a leader, you become more critical as the change process progresses and people experience the discomfort of navigating that white space. And because you start your journey sooner, your readiness is going to be higher than the people who are just learning about the change. So building commitment requires you to align your level of readiness with theirs and not them aligning to your level of readiness. I've done a previous video on how CEOs' enthusiasm can sabotage an organizational change effort. I'll put it in the show notes below. Second, actively involve the people who will need to adopt those new behaviors and activities. The late Stephen Covey, author of 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, said it best: no involvement, no commitment. Active involvement increases effective commitment. You may be thinking, wait a minute, we're a large organization. We don't have time to involve everyone. But the reality is that everyone you expect to think or behave differently, to take on those new activities, are by default involved. To think otherwise is like expecting that you will get fit if I work out. At the same time, active involvement doesn't mean everyone making every decision. That would be foolhardy. Active involvement that builds commitment to change reflects a structure and process where people have internalized the need, are empowered to make the decisions that they need to allow them to adopt those new activities and those new behaviors. Third, create a clear, concrete, and concise intended outcome story. And then use active communication, like conversation, to share and include people in the story. None of us can build commitment to engage with something new or different without a clear understanding and belief in the outcome of that change. I see too often leaders launching a change with only a vague goal of what will be accomplished. Creating a clear, concise, and concrete outcome story and including people in the outcome conversations helps them align with the future state and let go of the current state. Both are needed to build commitment. When sharing and including people with that outcome story, conversation is the best method of communication. Engaging people in the outcome story will help you create the desire and willingness for people to take the journey with you and build that commitment. Commitment requires us to invest intellectually and emotionally in the change. When you are committed to an outcome, you're willing to make the time. You can cope better and you will act even when it's uncomfortable. You can persevere to get those new activities embedded into your life circumstances. It does take time to build commitment, but without it, you can't achieve the desired results. These three things we talked about today will help get you started to build the commitment necessary to achieve change in your organization and build a change-ready organization. I hope you found this video helpful. And if you'd like to learn more about building commitment to change, reach out. Let's have a conversation. Bye for now.